All right, we give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High, Yah, by way of Yahushua HaMashiach. I don't know why that thing just told me that. I don't care about any of that. John 5:39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they which testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, to whom you trust. For had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Let's go over here to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 6. Rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoice in the truth. Bear all things, believe all things, hope all things, endure all things. So now, of course, we don't bear all things. Let's take ourselves to Deuteronomy chapter 1. Deuteronomy 1 and 9. And I spake unto you at that time, saying, I'm not able to bear you myself alone. Yahuwah your Elohim have multiplied you, and behold, you are this day as the stars of Shamahim for multitude. Yahuwah Elohim of your fathers made you 1,000 times so many more as ye are, and Baruch you as he have promised you. How can I myself alone bear your cumbrance, your burden, and your strife? So when we look at bear in that particular verse 12, that's the word nisah, which we done already talked about, lifting up. When we look at burden, that's the masah word that we dealt with last week. Let me pull that up for you because that's not at the forefront of my brain at this particular moment in time. I don't know who phone number that is. I guess it don't matter now. And that's the that which lifts up the soul. So now when we get with cumbrance, you have Torah, which is just a burden. You have the tet, the rosh, and the cot. And we begin to see the generosity of the kindness of the head protects, because he's asking, Moses is asking the question, how can he himself alone bear your cumbrance, your burden, and your strife? When you look at strife, that's your evil and that's your contention and all these things of that nature. But let's look at something, right? Isaiah chapter 1. I'll do that. It's something in Hosea that's in my mind. I'm trying to recall where it's at, though. Give me a moment. Y'all willing, it'll come to mind. And if not, praise the Lamb regardless. Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 14. Say, your new moons and your appointed feasts my soul hate. They are trouble unto me. I'm weary to bear them. And when you spread forth your hands, I will hide my eyes from you. Yea, when you make many prayers, I will not hear. Your hands are full of blood. Wash you, make you clean. Shalom, GP. Put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes and cease to do evil. Learn to do well and seek judgment and relieve the oppressed and judge the fatherless and plead for the widow. Now remember, he's asking this question of how can he bear your strife? So clearly you see the people, they doing evil. They afflicting the oppressed. They not pleading for the widow. They not judging for the fatherless. So therefore we got to deal with all this strife. So come over here to I want to say Hosea chapter 6. Let's see if it's Hosea chapter 6. Let's see what I want, man. Shalom, Brandon, man. It's not what I want, but I deal with it even nonetheless. Hosea 6 and 8. That ain't what I was thinking about, man. It's something else. It's in my mind. It might be in Hosea chapter 11. Just give me a second, man. I got to be specific on what it is, man. It's ringing in my brain. It's ringing in my brain. Well, praise y'all, huh? You just did it? Yeah, what? Not on the table? Yeah. So, Hosea 6 and 8 for the moment while I'm trying to recall what it was that I want. Say, Gilead is a city of them that work iniquity and is polluted with blood. And as troops of robbers wait for a man, so the company of priests murder in the way by consent, for they commit lewdness. Now, why are these troops of robbers laying wait for a man and want to lay murder in the way? Because of consent, because of strife. See, let's sit back and see Paul. Let's sit back and look at something, right? You know, in the book of Proverbs, it tell you how a wicked man loved to stir up strife. We just talked about that not too long ago. I think in Proverbs 17. Let me see if that's Proverbs 17, because I believe we just dealt with that not too long ago. Yeah, it is. Proverbs 16 and 28. What may I do for you? Take your beverage in the kitchen, please. Take your beverage in the kitchen, please. I said take your beverage in the kitchen, please. And ask someone to clean your nose. Thank you. Ask someone to clean your nose, please. I'm not being funny or facetious or humorous at this present time. Ask someone to clean your nose. You have snot on it. Sorry. Come in the kitchen and stop being hard-headed. You want to get popped? Because he did not have to say that more than one time. Proverbs 16 and 28. It says, a froward man sows strife. Now remember, he's asking. Now there's some stuff coming in my head, so we're going to have to back up in the law and look at what he's talking about. Froward man, remember we talked about it. This is a perverse man. This is a rebelliously contrary man. This is an individual who sows strife. Now troops of robbers are laying in wait to slay a man. Now why would they lay in wait? Because of strife. See, let's come over here, right? You know, in Proverbs 29, I want to say verse 23, if I'm not mistaken. And I could be mistaken. Let me double check just to make sure that I'm giving you an accurate description about what I'm about to state of its location. Now, that's not 23. 23 is something else. Something else. But it says a man's pride shall bring him low, but honor shall uphold him on the spirit. It's verse 27 that I wanted, though. And that's an unjust man is an abomination to the just, and he that is upright in the way is an abomination to the wicked. So when you're dealing with walking in righteousness and you're dealing with walking in unrighteousness, then there's going to be contention and there's going to be strife. Because these two things cannot meet an agreement. They were never made and set to be in agreement. Now, does that mean that you cannot get along amicably with someone who is not in the Word? Not necessarily. That doesn't mean that you can't get along amicably with them. But there's going to come a point in time in the future of man where lines are going to be drawn in the sand. And then, you know, it might be a little strife and contention when it comes down to dealing with this word. Because we're dealing about bearing all things. And we started a little bit on that on Wednesday. And then we working to dealing with it. If you're going to bear all things, one of the things that you have to bear, because remember he said, how am I going to bear your strife? So how am I going to bear your contentions and your wickedness? And all of these other things that he's asking, can't carry by himself. There was only one man who had the ability to carry all of those things by himself. And this is the kindness of that head is going to protect you because he said he's going to bear your cumbrance. So then when you turn around and you look at this here, the strife and contention and the persecution and the sufferings that's going to come on the righteous. Because remember, we talked about this on Wednesday. You must take up your stake. And when you take up the stake of a Mashiach, that's what you're taking with you. You're going to take that, you're going to have to be able to deal with strife. You're going to have to be able to deal with contention. You're going to be able to have to deal with persecution. Because if you're not able to bear that, then you're not going to be willing to endure it. And if you're not going to be willing to endure it, then your love is going to fail. See, it's easy right now for the most part because most of y'all, it hasn't got to that point where you dealing with that. The most of the time you're going to deal with that, you're going to deal with that with other people who, for the most part, walk in the word. You're going to deal with it from people in the world. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, that is correct because that's what our law states, Kira. That's what the law states. That there's enmity between the woman's seed and the serpent's seed, and no, they will never be able to meet an agreement. I don't care how anybody feel because that's what y'all said. That is not my personal opinion on it. Before I knew anything about the word, I never gave a second thought about it. It was truly not a concern of mine. But when you see what the text says, there has to be a separation. And yeah, they're not going to meet an agreement. Some people are not extreme as that young man to state that your faith sucks, but in reality, he just saying Elohim. When he said that your faith sucks, what he really saying is that he does. Matter of fact, pause. Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11. Matter of fact. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 24. By faith, Moses, when he come to years, refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter, choosing rather to suffer affliction with the people of Elohim than to enjoy the pleasures of sin for a season, esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach greater riches than the treasures in Mizraim, for he had respect unto the recompense of the reward. Now, we mentioned that the other day, right? When you're talking about that reproach, when you talking about that reproach, when you dealing with that reproach, you dealing with that state. You willing to bear that. You willing to take that. See, Moses was willing to take that dishonor that comes from carrying that state. See, when you deal with the words, you're going to be dishonored by the world because as we just read in Proverbs 29 and 27, you will be an offense to someone who is unjust. If they are wicked and they walking in a way, they're going to be offended by you. You see, and I just heard a young lady talking about that, about a particular organization that she departed from and the thing. And I told y'all this numerous times before, these people don't hate you because you're an Israelite. That doesn't affect them. They don't care. These people don't hate you because you don't eat pork. But when you begin to proclaim the name of Yahuwah and upright and just living, talking about just dealings and just judgment, then yes, you will begin to be despised. And you should rejoice at that. You should relish it. You should not run from that. I'm not talking about going about to cause people to dislike you. But because of what you believe and how you live and what you stand on, you should be happy when people are offended at you. Because in reality, that means they are offended at your Elohim and the esteem of a Mashiach rest upon you. If that doesn't rejoice your heart, then you saying that the esteem that he entered into because he had to suffer, you find that to be a reproach unto you. That means you don't want the Ruach HaKodesh and you don't want to be deemed as the son or daughter of Elohim. In layman's terms, in translation, that's what you're saying. And say, esteeming the reproach of Hamashiach greater riches than the treasures in Mizraim. For he had respect unto the recompense of the reward, because by faith he forsook Mizraim, not fearing the wrath of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. So we looking at how he endured, but he was willing to bear that reproach and endure it once he was willing to pick up that reproach and take that with him. See, that's why you look at it how it falls. You believe it, you have expectation of reward or hope, and because of that hope, you bear all things, and because you bear all things, then you will endure all things, and then your love won't fail. But let's go back looking at this cumbrance of strife that these men continually had with Hamashiach and how he was willing to bear your strife. Just willing to take your strife, because that's all most of these people want to do is argue and fight. As you see this day, that's pretty much all anybody want to do as far as the word is concerned, is argue and fight. I'm not finna argue with nobody about no word. Luke 13 and 10. Shoot, you can have that argument by yourself. You can be lonely and alone with that. But that's because that's what individuals who are of the flesh, they want to do. They want to argue and strife. You know what I'm saying? Have strife. You know, the book already tell you, and the epistles of Paul, that that's a work of the flesh. All that strife, yeah, that's of the flesh, man. That's not of the Ruach Elohim. Ruach Elohim ain't with all that. He's not on that. You know what I'm saying? At all. He said, when he was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Shabbat, behold, there was a woman who had a ruach of infirmity 18 years and was bowed together and could no wise lift up herself. And when Yahushua saw her, he called her to him and said unto her, Woman, thou art loose from thine infirmity. And he laid his hands on her, and immediately she was made straight and esteemed Elohim. And the ruler of the synagogue answered with indignation, because that Yahushua healed on Shabbat, and said unto the people, there are 6 days in which men ought to work, and them therefore come and be healed, and not on Shabbat. Now this is where you see he's taking the encumbrance or her burden. See, pause. Isaiah 61. And from Isaiah 61, Matthew chapter 23. Silence. Silence. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your cooperation. And then you're going to disrespect me. Yeah, I know it. Go to your room. Depart. Yeah, you, sir. Young man with the flip phone. You can depart. You can depart.
You ready for bed?
And silence your mouth. And stop being churlish. $61:1. But watch how you look at me, boy. I ain't playing with you. I get on my knees about you, cuz, and we can go at it. We can do it however you want to do it. Yeah, that's what I thought. The Ruach of Yahuwah Elohim is upon me, because Yahuwah have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, and to proclaim freedom to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. So when he's making this statement, he's letting you know that he's coming to relieve burdens. Let's go to Matthew chapter 23. Don't let him get you in trouble. You better learn to think for yourself and follow the directions that were set forth unto you, and not be influenced by the people around you.
And we're you get you to sit down. You go sit down, you go sit down.
Matthew 23.
Stop playing with this person. Mama waited too long for it.
Matthew chapter 23. What verse do I desire?
Thank you.
Matthew 23 and 13 is sufficient. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut up the kingdom of Shamahim against men, for you neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for pretense make long prayer. Therefore you shall receive the greater damnation. Woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees. That's where we was. My apologies. 23:1. That's what I wanted. I'm all off the point of what I needed. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, the scribes and Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens, grievous to be borne, and they lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. Hey, see, y'all wouldn't have that problem if you were sitting down being still. Hey, this is not playtime. You were not sitting here to play. But yet y'all continue to play.
Okay. This
Why?
is the second time. Next time somebody going to bed, you first. You right there, the youngest of the crew.
You're being disrespectful, sottish, and churlish. It's unacceptable. It's completely unacceptable. Consider your ways. Nevertheless, he was saying that these men did not want to carry these burdens. I'm not playing with you. I don't know why y'all think somebody playing. Ain't nobody playing with y'all.
Goodbye, all y'all.
Ain't nobody playing with y'all.
Come on. Let's go.
He didn't do nothing. That was just side. That wasn't muff either.
Well, come on, son. Ooh, you crying? You want me to?
You can sit down, Mario. You ain't got to go nowhere.
You better hush it up. Because you hear him, he preaching. So that means you.
Yeah, Muffin ain't do nothing. That was just side, thinking somebody was playing.
Go sit down. You, come on. Let's go later.
Yeah, she was talking to me, trying to think I'm playing with
Since you
her.
want to play.
Yeah, I'm not playing with you. This is not playtime, man.
You can go to sleep. Lay here now.
So, They didn't want to remove these burdens. They didn't have the generosity or the kindness to the people, nor the desire to protect them. They didn't have that. And that's what he's referring to. They didn't care about the people in any shape, form, or fashion. This is why they made the statement of what they made in Luke 13. And let's go back to Luke 13. Mara, go to your bed. Depart. Go. Go. You did it to yourself. You have no one to blame. No, your bed. You struck out, cuz.
Mark, go to bed.
Oh, he already there. He to the door. 13 and 15 of Luke. The master answered him and said, Thou hypocrite, doth not each one of you on Shabbat loose his ox or his ass from the stall and lead him away watering? And hath not this woman, being a daughter of Abraham, who Hashatan bound, lo, these 18 years be loose from this bond on the Shabbat? And when he had said these things, all his adversaries were ashamed, and all the people rejoiced for the esteemed things that were done by him. If they're adversaries, because this is why they started plotting, because of the strife. See, people who cause it, see, pause. See, let me show you something. Proverbs chapter 6. Proverbs 6 and 16. And after that, Galatians 5, I should say. Just bear with me. Take the long way. 6 and 16. Matter of fact, 6 and 12. A naughty person, a wicked man, walk with a froward mouth. He wink with his eyes. He speak with his feet. He teach with his fingers. Froward, leave it alone. Frowardness is in his heart. He devises mischief continually. He sow discord. Therefore his calamity comes suddenly. Leave it alone. Suddenly he shall be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth Yahuwah hate, yea, 7 are abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speak lies, and he that sow discord among brethren. Now some of y'all ain't been around that long and ain't familiar with this. But we're going to bring something back to your remembrance for this said cause. When you look at all these things that mention that Yah hate, they come from strife. The things that you see that's mentioned in verse 12 through 15, that come from strife. Hold on one second. Let me do this real quick. Real quick. Controversy at law. So a lot of people like to have controversies. So when you look at a Mashiach, they had a lot of controversy. Well, they have controversy. They had controversy because they were quarreling over the text. And most importantly, quarreling over the fact that he said who he was. So let's swing over here to Proverbs 24 and 16. And it tells you that, for a just man falls 7 times and rise up again, but the wicked shall fall in mischief. So when you see those 7 times are referring to the things that you just read in the book of Proverbs. When you swing on over here to Proverbs 26, and this is for newer people who may not be aware, and you look at about verse 26, and he tell you how whose hatred is covered. Oh, I'm sorry. We need verse 25. That's my bad. That's my bad. Or verse 24. How he tell you that he that hate dissemble with his lips and lay up deceit within him, and when he speak fair, believe him not, for there are 7 abominations in his heart, whose hatred is covered by deceit, and his wickedness shall be showed before the whole congregation. So you see these 7 abominations in his heart, they're rooted because of controversy or strife or quarreling or the desire to argue. When you look at the scribes, they were always seeking out a Mashiach to argue. Then we're going to go back and look in the law and see how the people were always seeking Moses out to argue or quarrel with him. There was always a controversy with him. And there's always going to be a controversy between the righteous and the wicked. That's just how it goes. That's just how it works. Because you got to remember, these things are different from one another. They're not the same. So you have to get past the fact that somebody know they're Hebrew, or how long they've been in the truth, or the cop out. They've been out here waking up the people on the streets for years. That doesn't make them righteous. You got to realize that the master said, yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of y'all come to me and say, we testified of you in our streets and did this and did that. And he going to tell you, man, depart from me, you work of iniquity, I never knew you. You can't be that. You can't have respected person to give passes to wicked men. You can't do that. I don't care how, it don't matter if they've been doing it for 30 years. If they evil, they evil. Galatians 5. At that point, you setting yourself up for failure to get dropped off. Because that means if you justifying a man wicked deeds, that means you just as wicked as he is. You know what I'm saying? You can't justify that. The book tell you that if you condemn the just and justify the righteous, you abomination to Yahuwah. So what you gonna do with that? Because the nigga got a nice flashy garment and he yelling on him. He done brought many people into the truth. I told a brother this the other day, and I'm going to tell y'all this again. Because a brother asked me when we were talking about that Hebrew 10, what is receiving knowledge of the truth? These niggas got you out here talking about the truth is knowing you an Israelite. That is not the truth. They got you talking about keeping the laws is the truth. That is not the truth. Receiving the knowledge of the truth. Why would the writer of the epistle of Hebrews need to write after receiving the knowledge of the truth if the law was the truth? Now ask yourself, does that make any common sense? Well, you say, well, what about Psalms 119 and 142? Well, if you believe that Yahushua is the word and he told you that he was the way, the truth, and the life, and that he told his apostles to go forth and testify of him and teach of him and bear witness of him, then receiving the knowledge of the gospel is receiving the knowledge of the truth. That's why it's a lot of people can have sacrifices for their sins because they ain't never received the knowledge of the truth. Therefore, we can't even say they didn't willfully sin. You know what I'm saying? They still walking in darkness, thinking they in light. Now you chew on that and let that ponder in your brain for a minute. But if you done heard the gospel of Yahushua and you go out and commit sin, you through. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no sacrifice for sins. It's gonna come up that this man desired to be merciful or not. Because you knew and you chose, that man told you it was better for you to never have heard it than to hear it and turn away from it. You got a lot of people, well, I want to hear about Yahushua. I want to hear that. No, you don't. Not if you don't want to live it. No, you don't. You don't want to hear that. You don't want to hear that. Because you hear that, you're responsible for it. Galatians 5 and 17. He say, for the flesh lust against the Ruach and the Ruach against the flesh, and these are contrary the one to the other, so that you cannot do the things that you would. But if you be led of the Ruach, you are not under Torah. Now the works of the flesh are manifest, which works are these: adultery, fornication, uncleanliness, lasciviousness, idolatry, witchcraft, hatred, variance, emulations, wrath, strife, seditions, heresies, envyings, murders, drunkenness, revilings, and such like, of which I tell you before, as I have told you in time past, that they which do such things shall not inherit the kingdom of Elohim. Now guess what? When you look at shedding innocent blood, there goes murder. When you look at strife, that's when you look at wrath, there goes, wicked imaginations. When you look at sedations, there goes the sowing discord among brethren. When you look at lasciviousness, that's more of devising wicked imaginations. And you can see that all these things, even with heresies, you could throw that in as a proud look, or even with idolatry or witchcraft. So you see how these works of the flesh line up with the things that are an abomination to Yahuwah. You can't have strife in your heart and always arguing and having controversy and quarrels and say the Ruach of Elohim is present with you and you are Elohim. They can sit around here. You don't see a Mashiach sitting around arguing with niggas. Argue with this nigga for what? For what? What purpose and rhyme and reason does that make? You're going about to cause strife because you want to lay in wait. Because you want to kill a man. So you have to sit back and look at that. People who like to constantly and consistently cause strife, and we talking about believers in the word, these are people who going to kill somebody. They're going to kill somebody. And if you know that, then you got to be willing to bear your burden. You got to be willing to carry that stake. Let's take ourselves back over here to Luke chapter 12. Or is it Luke chapter 11? It's Luke chapter 11. We'll pick it up at verse 45. Let's look a little bit more strife. A little bit more strife. Well, we'll start at 37 so you can see the beginning of the strife. I grab strife from everywhere with these dudes. The spots in the law are easy to grab. And you can see why Moses said, can I bear all your cumbrance? Can I lift up and carry your the lot which has been placed upon me of your burdens. You know what I'm saying? Because that wasn't Moses' place. That's why he may ask that question. That's not my job to do it. I'm not the one who's coming to manifest that kindness unto you and carry that. Nevertheless, and as he spake, a certain Pharisee besought him to dine with him, and he went in and sat down to meat. And when the Pharisee saw it, he marveled that he had not first washed before dinner. So now they sitting back looking crazy. This man ain't washed himself before he ate. Something wrong with this guy. Let's go to verse 45, because then you know the master went to saying some of the stuff that's in Matthew 23, going off on them, telling them how they were clean on the outside, but wicked on the inside, and things of that sort. Then answered one of the lawyers and said unto them, Master, thus saying, thou reproach us also? And he said, woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for you laid men with burdens grievous to be borne, and you yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers. See, Paul, let's go to Ezekiel 34 real quick. He said, you won't pick these burdens up. You won't move them. "34 and 4 is sufficient, I suppose, or 34 and 3. You eat the fat, you clothe you with the wool, you kill them that are fed, but you feed not the flock. The diseased have you not strengthened, neither have you healed that which was sick, neither have you bound up that which was broken, neither have you brought again that which was driven away, neither have you sought that which was lost, but with force and with cruelty have you ruled them." So when you sit back and you look at that, they not removing the burdens like we seen Isaiah prophesy of. Let's come back to Luke chapter 11. Verse 47. Woe unto you, for you build the sepulchres of the prophets, and your fathers killed them. That goes back to what we talking about in Hosea 6. Truly you bear witness that you allow the deeds of your fathers, for they indeed killed them, and you build their sepulchres. Therefore also said the wisdom of Elohim, I will send them prophets and apostles, and some of them they shall slay and persecute, that the blood of all the prophets which was shed from the foundation of the world may be required of this generation. From the blood of Abel unto the blood of Zacharias, which perished between the altar and the temple. Truly I say unto you, it shall be required of this generation. Woe unto you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key of knowledge, and you entered not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered. And as he said these things unto them, the scribes and Pharisees began to urge him vehemently, and to provoke him to speak of many things, laying wait for him, seeking to catch something out of his mouth that they might accuse him, because all they were looking to do was bring forth strife. Moses said, I can't carry your controversies and your quarrels. It ain't my job. See, let's look at Numbers 21, and you can see how that happened to Moses, why he wasn't able to do it, and what happened for him, to show you that he wasn't the one to carry it. No, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. And now it escapes my brain of where it is, what I want. Oh yeah, I'm tripping. It's Numbers 20 and 7. Well, 20 and 1, we'll look at it. You'll see a little bit of strife in the wilderness. Show you how he wasn't the one to be able to bear your cumbrance and your strife. Then came the children of Yasharal, even the whole congregation, into the desert of Zin, or the desert of Sin. And the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and were buried there. There was no water for the congregation. They gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. What's your problem? Yeah. You want to what? Well, you can't. You lost that privilege. You have to blame yourself for that misstep in your actions there. Your choices led you to this seat. So therefore, enjoy it. And the people chose with Moses and spake, saying, Would Elohim that we had died when our brethren died before Yahuwah. And when you have brought up the congregation of Yahuwah into this wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there. Wherefore you have made us to come out of Mizraim to bring us into this evil place. It is no place of seed or figs or vines or pomegranates, neither is there any water to drink. And Moses and Aaron went from the presence of the assembly unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. They fell upon their faces, and the esteem of Yahuwah appeared unto them. And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, Take the rod, gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother. Speak ye unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth its water, and thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So shalt thou give the congregation and their beasts drink. And Moses took the rod from before Yahuwah as he commanded him. And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock. And he said unto them, Hear now, ye rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation and their beasts also. Yahuwah spake unto Moses and Aaron, Because you believe me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Yasharal. Therefore you shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Yasharal strove with Yahuwah, and he was sanctified in them. And that's the waters of strife. So you see, he wasn't the one to be able to bear the strife, because when he had the strife caused him to do something where he did not believe Yahuwah and got him excluded. This is why he's telling you in Deuteronomy, I can't bear your cumbrance and your strife. But Yahushua was the one to bear that strife. Let's go back to Isaiah 53. Sit upon your bum, please. Upon your bum. Thank you. It's no. You're not up here to play or hold a conversation. No, that's not what you're here for. 53 and 4. Go see your mother, please. Isaiah 53 and 4. Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of Elohim, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our shalom was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. Now, what do we see in verse 4? He borne our griefs, carried our sorrows. Remember, we dealt with that. He carried your sin. He carried that. He's bearing these sorrows that Moses, he couldn't carry that because it wasn't his duty or job to carry that. Now let's take ourselves to Matthew. We'll make it Mark chapter 3. Let's look at a little bit more strife. Mark 3 and 20. Let's look a little bit more strife. We see the strife that caused Moses not to enter, and we'll go back and grab a couple pieces of that strife. And also you see the persecution that Moses suffered for being righteous. This is what you have to bear. When we talk about it, you got to take up your stake daily and follow him. Remember, Paul wrote that he bare in his body the marks of Yahushua. He carried that. That means he lifted up the death of Yahushua in his mortal body, that the resurrection of Yahushua might exist in his inner man and might be shown forth outward. He said, the world is crucified to me and I unto the world. The world is dead to me and I'm dead to the world. That stuff don't mean nothing to me. I've mortified my members. I don't live for that. That causes strife with people who are unrighteous. And when the multitude come together again so that they could not so much as eat bread, and when his friends heard it, they went out to lay hold on him, for they said he is beside himself. The scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, he has Beelzebub, and by the prince of devils he cast out devils. So now they causing a controversy. And he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Hashatan cast out Hashatan? And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, see, that house cannot stand. See, let me tell you something. See, this is what a lot of brews take to say that's why you got to unify. See, we divide against itself. That man ain't talking about people. It's forth as people unifying and being. See, I hate when I hear dudes in this day and time saying that unification of all of Israel is going to make Yah come back. Where you read that at in the text? Where did Yah say my salvation is contingent upon the unifying of a group of people? Not now time. He never said it. That's not the plan of salvation. That's not, he never preached that. I just watched a video of a lady talking about the group she was in, and she ain't told no lie. And she said the same thing I be telling y'all. She say, show me in the word where he told them to go preach that you Israel, or stand outside with a 12 tribe chart and say that's the truth. That's not the gospel. That's not what he told his apostles to go teach. And that's not what his apostles were teaching people. Where did you see this man talking about go wake the people up to their nationality? That's nonsense. That's a doctrine of the flesh. And shoot, for lack of a better terminology, that's a doctrine of devils, because that's not a doctrine of salvation. That's not the teaching of the living Elohim. And I don't care who gets offended at it. That's not his teaching. He never told nobody to go teach that. What would it matter? You knowing that's not going to deliver your soul from death, so it doesn't matter. So I know some people, oh, so what you saying we in Islam? I ain't said that damn time. Clearly, you know in your heart you ain't a son or daughter of Elohim, because that's all you concerned with. You got to look at what he told his apostles to go teach, which is going to save men's souls alive. And are you teaching that? Are you proclaiming that? Because we just talked about this last week. That type of teaching don't speak to your heart. This man say, I will support and sustain, comfort, and speak to your leb, to your heart, to your inner man. And knowing you an Israelite does not speak to your inner man, because Yahweh word is supposed to touch the heart. He said his law is perfect, converting the soul. So if it's converting the soul, that means it spoke to your heart. And if he talking about his law perfect, he ain't talking about just not eating no pork and keeping Sabbaths. He talking about his son. That's what's going to shoot. That's what's going to convert you. That's going to pair you to the sacrifice of the son. You got to ask yourself, are you willing to do that? But nevertheless, that's what he keep on telling them. And if Hashatan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand but have an end. Because you got to remember, he casting out an unclean spirit out of somebody. So he's talking about something that's spiritual, not something that's natural. He ain't telling you like this here. Hashatan is an adversary. What is he an adversary against? The things that be of Elohim. He esteemed the things that be of man. You gotta have more common sense than this. To think that mean everybody got to unify. I'm not unifying with none of these niggas in the type of time they on. Can he have fellowship with the throne of iniquity? Absolutely not. Y'all are unified with anybody just because they know they Israel. They could be homosexuals. They could be adulterers, liars, thieves, any type of thing. You don't care. He been in the truth 20 years. You know how many people he done woke up? Come on, man. Be serious with your life. You got to be serious with your life. No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods, except he will first bind the strong man, then he will spoil his house. Truly I say unto you, all sins shall be forgiven unto the sons of men, and blasphemies wheresoever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme the Ruach HaKodesh have never forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation, because they said he had an unclean Ruach. So you can see why he said that. These men around here trying to say that. What he doing ain't an Elohim. This ain't got nothing to do with unifying forth with men. This is men esteeming in the flesh, which ain't good. Let's look at a little bit more strife that this man carrying all these people's strife. We can start at the top of Mark chapter 3. He carrying all these people's strife. Moses couldn't bear that strife. That's why he didn't get in the land. We just read it. He couldn't bear it. 3 and 1. Mark chapter 3, verse 1. Now you got to look at this. If you're going to care, remember this man say take up his stake and follow him. So if you're going to take that stake up, you taking this up with you. You're going to have to be able to bear strife. You're going to be able to have to endure that. And he entered again to the synagogue, and there was a man there which had a withered hand, and they watched him whether he would heal him on Shabbat, that they might accuse him, waiting to cause some strife. He saith unto the man which he had the withered hand, stand forth. He saith unto him, is it lawful to do good on Shabbat, or to do evil, to save a life, or to kill? See, but they held they shalom. And this is another one Bruce be using too that just irks my nerve. To say that means that when he say, is it lawful to do good or save a life, that means that you can go to work. How is that saving somebody's life? How is that doing good? That's doing your will. That's what you wanted to do. Just say that's what you wanted to do. Just be honest about it. And when he looked around, bowed on them with anger, being grieved for the hardness of their hearts, he saith unto the man, stretch forth thy hand. And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored whole as the other. And the Pharisees went forth straightway and took counsel with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. Taking you back to Hosea 6, what we read, and you seeing that they were coming in off the rip to cause strife. Every time they were coming to cause strife, it's because he either told them about themselves or he was doing something that was just for the benefit of removing a burden off another person. He's the person who came to lift up burdens and carry that cumbrance, and these men didn't like it and they wanted to cause strife. Let's see if we can find another one before we depart and look at a little bit of strife what they came with Moses at in the law. I think we can be pretty brief with Moses in the law, because that ain't going to take that long to spend a whole bunch of time pouring through all of that. Which one do we want to use? We could use Matthew 9, but that's too easy. They was coming willing with strife when he healed the man of the palsy and said, who are you to say that you can forgive sins? Only Elohim could do that. You could see that they had strife when he opened the eyes of the blind man. Yes. Huh? What about your mommy? And she's right there. Or what about when he opened the eyes of the blind man? When he opened the eyes of the blind man, there was strife and contention about that. We be Moses' disciples. We don't know who this man is. All he was doing good works. They had a problem with it. He said he went about going about to heal those who were oppressed by the devil. Man had a problem with it. Y'all ain't never noticed. Ain't nobody really got no problem with nobody going around here teaching no law, talking about you Israel. Only people who got a problem with it is certain people in the Christian societies and organizations, because they feel like they losing their members. At the end of the day, when most of the time when somebody got a problem with something that ain't pertaining to the gospel, they really just upset they losing members. And when they lose members, they lose money and prestige, and that's really what most of these people really care about. Nevertheless, let's sit back and go on this a little further. Let's take ourselves to Psalm 88. It's the same token. I see they going on. I don't know who that man's name is, but I think the man went and bought a Lamborghini for his wife, and he preached the word. And it made me remember something where I was talking to Brother Sean about, and one brother was like, that's why I don't post stuff. Because he preached the word. He said, that's why I don't pro stuff when I buy stuff, because people feel like because you preach, you supposed to be broke. But like I heard this man clearly say it that he said, man, I got a TV show on the Oprah Winfrey Network. Done had it for 4 years. And if a nigga know this man got a television show on Oprah's network, then you know full well he can gladly afford a Lamborghini. But it's just the fact of what you care what he bought that for. You really only wanted to do to cause strife and argue. You was looking for a reason. And that's not to say this man preaching the gospel, but you looking for a reason to argue. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I told Brother Sean straight up and down, shoot. And that man said, I ain't buy this with no church money. Yeah. I hit my nigga Jay said, I hit my number. You see me with a Rolex on? But we ain't got a big enough congregation for a nigga to give me no money to buy no Rolex. And guess what? I wouldn't care what damn nigga said if I had it on neither. Oh man, you could have took that money to fed the poor. How you know if I ain't take 3 times what I paid for this watch and fed the poor with it? How you ain't know that? You wouldn't know it, 'cause I ain't gonna tell you. The people in that spot would know. I'm not finna tell you that. So what? I push a Range Rover. So what? I push this, that, and the third. I hustle for it. I work for it. I can do with my money what I want to do with it. Do you know what I'm saying? That ain't none of your concern. If any of y'all in the word and it's something you want to bought and you bought it with your money that you work for and you earned, I don't care what. That's your money. You do what you want to with it. I'm not gonna be looking at you like, you sound like Judas. That you could have gave that money and gave it to the poor, because you a thief, nigga, and a betrayer. That's why you're talking like that, because you ready to betray a nigga. That's what Judas said when he was worrying about, we could have did this here with it. Oh, thief. Because without the word, that's pocket watching. I ain't watching them there, especially when I know majority of these preachers, man, they got hustles, period. Like, these men just don't sit and just make no money. Some of these dudes do, but some of these dudes get money on their own. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if TD Jakes take a salary from his church, but I know he make a lot of money outside of it. He probably don't need to. You know what I'm saying? That's not to justify these dudes and what they teach them, just using them as an example. Because I had the brother was just telling me how a lot of brews teach that, we in the land, we cursed, so you can't make no money and you can't have no business. And he was like, he know a lot of brews that actually got businesses and making money that gave him a different perspective on what he was being told. Because I don't know why these dudes make you feel like you got to be broke. You don't have to be broke. You only broke because you want to be broke. You know what I'm saying? It's for saying the curses. The curses. Remember, the curses are on the people as a whole, not on an individual. If you obedient, man, you good. If he's y'all, so at the same token, y'all might keep a little bit of change from you because he know you might not be able to know what to do with it. So he protecting you from yourself. Because sometimes you got to protect your children from themselves. Psalm 88 though. We pick it up at verse 4. Hey, little baby. You gonna come on? You know how to walk. I seen. I'm counted with them. Well, make it verse 3. He say, for my soul, put that baby down. For my soul is full of troubles, and my life draw nigh unto the grave. I'm counted with them that go down into the pit. I am as a man that have no strength. When we turn around, and it's going to probably be the same word in another place when you're talking about strength. What else right here? A man of no strength. That word is ayal. And it means I'm a man that doesn't have strength or have help. And you have the aleph, the yod, and the lamad. And now you sit back and see how the work of the shepherd can give strength. Because he said he a man without strength. See, I want you to hold this and come over here to Job chapter 6. And I want you to see this same word used in this location for a different factor. Because he said he is a man that's going to have no strength. He about to hit the grave. That is not what I wanted. I did not take that down correctly. Oh, man. I didn't take that down correctly. That's my bad, y'all. I got ahead of myself. Let's not go back to Job. Let's go back to Psalms 88. I got ahead of myself. So, when you look at that, you have no strength. He counted them as going to the grave. He don't have no strength. We talked about this the other day. Hamashiach know he was finna get ready to die. And guess what? He ain't have no strength. And that Malachim came and strengthened him. Helped with him to bear that burden. Nevertheless, verse 5. Free among the dead, like the slain that lie in the grave, whom thou remember no more, and they are cut off from thy hand. Thou hast laid me in the lowest pit, and darkness in the deeps, he in the grave. Thy wrath lay hard upon me, and darkness in the deeps, he in the grave. Thy wrath lay hard upon me, and thou hast afflicted me with all thy ways, Selah. Thou hast put away my acquaintance far from me, my friends gone. Thou hast made me an abomination unto them. I'm shut up, and I cannot come forth. That's Peter. I don't know him. He say, my eye mourn by reason of affliction. Yahuwah, I have called daily upon thee. I've stretched out my hands unto thee. Wilt thou show wonders to the dead? Shall the dead arise and praise thee, Selah? Shall thy loving kindness be declared in the grave, or thy faithfulness in destruction? So remember, is he going to be able to carry that burden? And this is another instance where we look at him preaching to the spirits in prison, but we're not dealing with that this evening. He say, but unto thee have I cried, O Yahuwah, in the morning. Not dealing with that this evening. He say, but unto thee have I cried, O Yahuwah, in the morning shall my prayer prevent thee. Yahuwah, why cast thou off my soul? Why hide thy face from me? I am afflicted and ready to die from my youth up. While I suffer thy terrors, I am distracted. Now, the word for suffer here is nasah. So you're looking at him lifting up a burden, carrying a burden. So he says, while I carry burdens, thy terrors distract me. And when you look at terrors, it's dread. And we read this on Wednesday. The dread. I'm finna get ready to die. He was exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. He about to be lifted up, but pause. John 17. Now you're looking at this man taking all this cumbrance, all this strife, all this burden, and carrying it on his shoulder. Oh, I don't know why it's doing that, because it ain't doing that on this end. I can tell you that much. Yeah, it's moving kind of smooth on this end, man. I don't know why it would be doing that. Yeah, but I see y'all having an issue with it. You might need to refresh your thing, man. That's about all I can tell you. That's what somebody told me one time. I guess that worked. John 17 and verse 1. He said, these words spake Yahushua and lifted up his eyes, and Shamahim said, Abba, the hour is come, esteem thy son, that thy son also may esteem thee. Thou hast given him power over all flesh, that he should give eternal life, as to many as thou hast given him. And this is life eternal, that they might know might know thee, the only true Elohim, and Yahushua HaMashiach, whom thou hast sent. I have esteemed thee on their rats, and I have finished the work which thou gave me to do. And now, O Abba, esteem thou me with thy own self, with the esteem which I had with thee before the world was. Now remember, he says, thy terrors, he says, suffer thy terrors over his head. In verse 15, he says, he's afflicted and ready to die from his youth up. He was manifested for the purpose of dying. He said, for this cause was I born, and for this cause I came into the world. He was slain from the foundation of the world. And he was ready to die from his youth up. And he said, while he suffered, or while he lifted up, his dread has distracted him. So when you look at that, the dread or the terror of Elohim has distracted him to the point he say, Abba, if it be possible, let this cup pass. Because he's got to be lifted up. He already told his apostles this. He's already made this known. He has to be lifted up. A lot of people ain't ready for that. John 18 and 35, though. We'll read what I just mentioned, though. Now, that word for dread is amar. You know, you got an aleph, a yod, a meme, and a hey. And all it is behold, the leader's work of blood, or the leader's work of his death or his sacrifice. That junk got to be cut. No. I don't know what to tell y'all on that, right? Because that junk is streaming pretty smooth on this end. Pilate answered, am I Yahudim? Thy own nation and chief priests have delivered thee unto me. What hast thou done? Yahushua answered, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, then would my servants fight, that I should not be delivered to the Yahudim. But now is my kingdom not from hence. Pilate therefore said unto him, art thou Amalek then? Yahushua answered, thou say I'm Amalek. To this end was I born, and for this cause I came unto the world, that I should bear witness unto the truth. Everyone that is of the truth, hear my voice. Everyone that's of Elohim, hear his word. Remember, he said, the truth shall set you free. He said, and if the Son shall set you free, you shall be free indeed. He the one to come to set you free. Everyone that is of Elohim is going to hear him. He told you his sheep hear his voice, and they follow him, and they don't hear the voice of strangers. So they're not listening to any foolishness. They're not listening to anything that's not the gospel. They're going to come to Hamashiach and by product come to Elohim. But this man said, while he said this, you need to behold the leader's work of blood. Well, let's behold his work of blood. There's a reason why we spend a lot of time looking at this man's death, because this man's suffering and death is bearing witness to our salvation. And you have to be willing to take that on. Everybody ain't willing to take that on. Let's look at that work, though. John 19 and 1. Let's look a little bit of that work, though. See, that's the work everybody don't want to do. See, Paul, let's go to Galatians 6, right? We read it Wednesday. I'm going to read it again. We read it Wednesday. I'm going to read it again. Galatians chapter 6, verse 12. Look what he states. As many as desire to make a fair show in the flesh, they constrain you to be circumcised, only lest they should suffer the persecution for the sake of a Mashiach. For neither they themselves who are circumcised keep Torah, but desire to have you circumcised, that they may esteem in your flesh. But Elohim forbid that I should esteem, save in the stake of our master, Yahushua HaMashiach, by whom the world is crucified unto me, and I unto the world. See, that's what they don't want to do. That's what they don't want to do. See, when you sit back and looking at that, they don't want to carry that stake. See, that stake's something different. 1 Timothy chapter 2. See, that's what they don't want to do. Is it 1 Timothy? It might be 2 Timothy that I desire. It is. 2 Timothy chapter 2. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9. Matter of fact, make it verse 7. 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 7. Look what he states. Consider what I say, and the Lord give thee understanding in all things. Remember that Yahushua HaMashiach of the seed of David was raised from the dead according to my gospel, wherein I suffer trouble as an evildoer, even under bonds, but the word of Elohim is not bound. He letting you know he's suffering as an evildoer for preaching the gospel. Yahushua suffered as an evildoer for preaching the gospel. What you think gonna happen to you? Are you willing to bear that and take that? Therefore I endure all things for the elect's sake, that they may also obtain the salvation which is in Yahushua HaMashiach with eternal esteem. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, we shall also live with him. If we suffer, we shall also reign with him. If we deny him, he will also deny us. If we believe not, yet he abide faithful. He cannot deny himself. There's a reason. When he sit back and said, we suffer with him, we reign with him. We mentioned it last week. Ought not a Mashiach ought to suffer to enter into his esteem? How do you think that you're going to enter into the same thing and not travel down the same road that he traveled? Yes. What you want? Huh? You need to stop talking like you got rocks in your mouth. You want what?
She want to go to sleep. That's what she wants.
You want your mommy? I think your mother told you to sit upon that couch a very long time ago.
Go lay down in the same room, Gabrielle.
Now you done cost yourself to go to lay down. You should have just been quiet. It's past the time of someone of your stature anyway. So think about that. How you not gonna suffer with him to reign? How you want to reign with a man, but you don't? Let's just get it. Luke 24. Luke 24 and 22. Yea, certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre. And when they had found not his body, they came saying that they had seen a vision of angels, which said that he was alive. And a certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchres and found it even so as the women had said, but him they saw not. Then he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart, to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not Hamashiach to have suffered these things and to enter into his esteem? Shouldn't he have suffered? See, come on, stay in Luke 24 real quick. Come on to verse 46. That's the part you got to look at. Shouldn't he have suffered? So if he suffered to enter into his esteem, what you think you're going to have to do? 24 and 44. And we ain't coming here for the part of him talking about he opened up all them scripts. We coming here for one statement of which the man made, of why it's important that he had to suffer. And he said unto them, these are the words which I spake unto you while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the Torah of Moses and in the prophets and in the Psalms concerning me. Then opened he their understanding, that they might understand the scriptures. And he said unto them, thus it is written, and thus it behooved Hamashiach to suffer, and to rise from the dead the third day. And that repentance and remission of sins should be preached in his name among all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. That means it behooved him. He had to suffer. That means he had to bear that. He had to bear that reproach. Remember, we already read that on Wednesday too. The reproaches of them that reproached thee fell on me. What did Rebekah tell Jacob? She said, let that reproach be on me, son. Let that reproach fall on me. You got to behold the work of the Son, or the work of the blood, or the work of his death. It was to take on reproaches. It was to bear that cumbrance and that strife, your quarrels and your controversy. Because see, we could take that cord of bearing that controversy and take you to Micah chapter 6 and see like y'all got a controversy. Well, let's go ahead and get it. And I'll show you bear strife two ways. Micah chapter 6, right? Verse 1. We just dealt with this a little while ago. We'll look at it this way too. Hear ye now what saith Yahuwah, arise, contend thou before the mountains, and let the hills hear his voice. Hear ye, O mountains, Yahuwah's controversy, you strong foundations of the rats. For Yahuwah have a controversy with his people, and he will plead with Yasharal. O my people, what have I done unto thee? And wherein have I wearied thee? testify against me. So it's like, sit back and you think about that. He said he got a controversy. He said, well, what I done did to y'all that y'all don't, and that's the same way niggas move now. You don't get what you want, stuff don't go your way, it's y'all's fault. And it ain't got nothing to do with him. He said he got a controversy with his people. So when we were in the midst of sin, we separated from Elohim. Now he got a controversy. Moses said, I'm not the one to bear that controversy. I can't bear that strife. I can't bear them quarrels. I can't carry that. Hamashiach said, I carry it. They said, who we gonna send? He said, send me, I'll do it. That's why it behooved him to suffer. How you gonna? You got a lot of brothers, right? Like I said, I was talking to my homeboy about that Wednesday too, man, who don't even believe we in the New Testament. And it's sad. And you know, we done talked about it before, but it's sad. It's sad for one reason and one reason alone. Then what did this man die for? So you thought that man went through all that just to be like, oh, the New Testament don't start till you get here? So that means your sins ain't forgiven, man. And if your sins ain't forgiven, this man cannot come get you. Do y'all not understand that? He can't come get you. And if he can't come get you, then we can never return to Jerusalem, which means we could never stand in the place where we were told we were not a people and be told we the sons of the living Elohim. We could never be told that. Then if we can't be told that, then if the sins of the people as a whole can't be forgiven, then that means the sins of you individually can't be forgiven. And if the sins of you individually can't be forgiven, because a covenant is not effect as long as the testator live, and he said, I am he that lived and died and lived forevermore, that means when he returned, this man got to die and resurrect from the dead again. If the new covenant is not in effect, that means this man has to come back, die, and resurrect from the dead again. You see how asinine that is? Because he can't accept you when you still in your sins? Come on, man. Niggas is retarded. For no reason. For no earthly reason whatsoever. Just stupid for no reason. Because that don't even make sense. If you don't have to be a skilled scribe. You don't have to be the sharpest person of biblical expertise. But you have to sit back and say, bro, that don't make no sense. If I can read right here where this man say, drink, this is my blood in the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. Then you tell me, oh, that's not in effect yet. Well, then, nigga, then that mean our sins ain't remitted, cuz? Oh, see, my shot gonna straighten all that when he come by. I officially know you don't know what you talking about. And I'm gonna give you a cease and desist order, because I'm not talking to you anymore. A federal judge in Texas done struck down Obamacare. How about that? All right. Appreciate the notification. I didn't have health insurance anyway, so don't make me do it. But think about that. Let's go back to John 19. It's a bunch of Southern white people happy about that tonight. I can bet you that. John 19:1. Then Pilate therefore took Yahushua and scourged him. And the soldiers platted a crown of thorns and put it on his head, and they put on him a purple robe and said, Hail, Malach of the Yahudim, and they smote him with their hands. Pilate therefore went forth again and saith unto them, Behold, I bring him forth to you, that you may know that I find no fault in him. Then came Yahushua forth wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and Pilate saith unto them, Behold the man. So guess what? When he said, Behold the man, there go that hay. There go that hay. Behold the man. And guess what? When we turn around looking at them terrorists that's coming over his head, and one of them characters you see is, hey, behold the leader's work of blood. Like it's right there. It be telling us, man, what time it is if we just open our eyes. More importantly, open our hearts that we might understand and he might heal us. The Yahudim answered him, We have a Torah, and by a Torah he ought to die, because he made himself the son of Elohim. There's the strife. When Pilate therefore heard that saying, he was the more afraid. Now, you know, in another place, let's just go ahead and get it. Is it Luke 18? It's not Luke 18. It's Luke 22, I want to say. Come over here, Luke 22. See, Pilate knew what they brought him around there for. No, we don't want Luke 22. We want Luke 23. Let me make sure we're in the right spot. What we're looking for. 23 and 1 is cool. And the whole multitude of them arose and led them unto Pilate, and they began to accuse him, saying, we found this fellow perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is a Mashiach, a Malach. Pilate asked him, saying, art thou the Malach of the Yahudim? He answered him and said, thou sayest. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and to the people, I find no fault in this man. And they were more fierce, saying, he stirred up the people, teaching throughout all Jewry, beginning from Galilee to their place, Judge most strife. And when Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that, I'm sorry, I wrote a couple of mine went blank because I'm trying to think about the next part I'm going to go to. And as soon as he knew that he belonged to Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who himself was at Jerusalem at that time. No, that didn't have what I wanted either. So it's in Matthew, what I'm looking for. Come on, Matthew 27. It still all work together with the point. Is it Mark? Where is it at? Here we go. Matthew chapter 27, verse 15. Now at that feast the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you, Barabbas or Yahushua, who is called Hamashiach? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. See, usually when there's envy, strife ain't too far behind. Remember, froward man stir up strife. When there's envy, strife ain't too far behind because you're going to start a quarrel with somebody you envy. Because somebody you envy, you want to be like. And 9 times out of 10, you want to take their place. You want to interject yourself in the position that they in, which is causing for strife. And when envy come and strife come, then sedations come. Slow, man. When strife come and envy come, then murder come. And that's what you sit back and you see them 7 abominations that we sat back and we mentioned in Proverbs chapter 6. And why I referenced that Job, Proverbs 24 and 16 for y'all, that a just man falleth 7 times and rise again, because he fell in that envy and strife and he was able to bear it, to rise from the dead, to redeem you from your iniquities. Back to John chapter 19. That's why you see the terror or the dread is for you to behold this man's word. Behold that word. Behold, this man's finna shed his blood for your sake. Watch it. Pay attention to it. Let it wash you clean. After we get through this John 19, go ahead and get your little Hebrew 9. Little Hebrews 9. Ain't never hurt nobody. I had something else in mind. Acts chapter 20 will work too. I think I stopped in John 19 where? Pick it up at 17. John 19 and 17. And he, bearing his stake, went forth into a place called the place of a skull, which is called in the Abaringo Gotha, where they crucified him, and 2 others with him, and on the either side one, and Yahushua in the midst. Pilate wrote a title and put it on the stake, and the writing was Yahushua of Nazareth, Malach of the Yahudim. This title then read many of the Yahudim, for the place where Yahushua was crucified was nigh to the city, and it was written in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin. Then said the chief priest of the Yahudim to Pilate, write not the king of the Jews. But he said, I am the king of the Jews. Pilate answered, what I have written, I have written. Then the soldiers, when they had crucified Yahushua, took his garments and made 4 parts, to every soldier a part, also his coat. And now the coat was without seam, woven from the top throughout. So remember, we talked about this a little bit last week in Genesis 49. He bowed his shoulder to bear. He couched himself between 2 burdens. But now you're beholding his word. See, let's go back to Matthew 27, right? So these people sit back and look at how they watched his word. We're just going to read what a centurion bear witness to the word. He said, watch it. He said, that dread over my head, you got to watch this word, man. We got to get verse 16 in a minute. I might have already... Oh, I ain't read 16 yet, so I ain't went too far yet to transition to the next spot. Get to Matthew 27 and then hit the Hebrew 9. Well, this Acts 20. We're going to hold off on Hebrews 9. Matthew chapter 27, verse 54. That's all we want. Acts 20 and 15 is sufficient. Now, when the centurion and they that were with him watching Yahushua saw the earthquake and those things that were done, they feared greatly, saying, truly, this was the son of Elohim. Now, you got to remember, he had a little bit of dread. He had a little terror in his heart. You know what I'm saying? That I'm about to be lifted up and bear all these sins. And when this Roman centurion seen that he beheld that leader's work of his blood or the work of his death, he said, yeah, this is the son of Elohim right here. Who else going to come and do this? And remember, now we looked at it right. He carried the strife of the people. He carried the strife of the individuals coming after him. I mentioned strife with Moses when we hadn't grabbed the spots, but you know they had strife with it when it came to the manna. We seen the strife with it when it had with the water. They had the strife with it when they were coming to spy out the land. They had strife with him with the quails. They had strife with him with people prophesying outside the camp. They had strife with this man on every cutting corner. He said, I can't carry y'all sins. Moses had strife with him when they had the golden calf. He said, I can't bear this. He said, I promise it's not my lot. It ain't my Messiah. It's not my lot. He ain't told me to do this here. He ain't told me to be lifted up to carry all this here. I can't do it. He said, I don't have that kindness to protect you. I ain't got it. Yahushua came with the kindness to protect you. His office bearing your cumbrance or bearing that burden. And that kindness was his life. And his life or his blood is what will protect you from being able to be held accountable for your sins if you believe and obey him. Nevertheless, Acts chapter 20 and 15. Make that 17. And from Miltius he sent to Ephesus and called the elders of the synagogue. And when they were come to him, he said unto them, you know from the first day that I came unto Asia, after what manner I've been with you at all seasons, serving Yahuwah with all humility of mind and with many tears and temptations which befell me by the laying in wait of the Yahudim. And now I kept back nothing that was profitable unto you, but have showed you and have taught you publicly and from house to house, testifying both to the Yahudim and also to the Greeks repentance towards Elohim and faith towards our master Yahushua HaMashiach. And now behold, I go bound in Ruach unto Jerusalem, not knowing the things that shall befall me there, saving that the Ruach HaKadosh witness in every city, saying that bonds and afflictions abide me. Paul telling you he ready to bear all things. He ain't got no problem with it. He finna tell you that in a second. But none of these things move me. He said any affliction, which is what we're going to be dealing with a little bit more on tomorrow, y'all willing. Any affliction you can think of, any bonds that could have, he said that stuff don't move me. He said, but none of these things move me. Neither count I my life dear unto myself, so that I might finish my course with joy in the ministry which I received of the Master Yahushua to testify of the gospel of grace of Elohim. He said that stuff don't move him. He don't even count his life dear to himself. He said, I don't even care about my own life. He said, but I'm going to finish my work with joy. I'm going to be thrilled and happy to do this service that I've received, that I might bear witness of this gospel, that people might be saved. That's where his mind was at. That's where his mind was at. That's a man who was willing to bear all things. That means he was willing to endure all things, and he was going to do it with joy because it made him happy. Made him happy to live for Elohim and not live for himself. If this is what I got to take, then so be it. So everybody don't feel that way. He said, now behold, I know that you all among whom I've gone preaching, the kingdom of Elohim shall see my face no more. Wherefore I take you to record this day that I'm pure from the blood of all men. For I have not shunned to declare unto you all the counsel of Elohim. Take heed therefore unto yourselves to all the flock over which the Ruach HaKadosh have made you overseers, to feed the house of Elohim which he have purchased with his own blood. See, when you behold the leader's work of blood, you see that he bought you back because you sold yourself for naught, and you shall be redeemed without money. You know, and that's one thing, the statement that he just made in verse 27. See, I feel the same thing. See, I done had dudes try me with that before. Oh man, he tried to do this here. I don't want nobody depending on me on nothing. Cause one thing for certain and two things for sure, boy, I ain't holding nothing back to say, nah, I'm not gonna tell him about that. I'm not gonna show him that. I get it, I'm gonna show it to you. What I'm gonna hold it back for? Why would I keep something that's gonna be profitable to you, to myself? What type of sense does that make? Like on a real type of time, like what type of sense did that make? What I'm gonna hold it for? What I'm gonna do with it? Like straight up, this is the counsel of Elohim. This is a recommended course of action, a plot and a plan and a device for an individual to say they soul. What you holding it for? That don't make sense. I don't understand why an individual would do it, but I guess people do. Psalms 88, verse 16. Now we can link this up with Job 6 and 14, if I'm not mistaken. I had got a little ahead of myself. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and give you this word. You can get every bit of it, too. So live. Ain't no sense of holding it. You go ahead and get it. 88 and 16 of Psalms. Thy fierce wrath go over me. Thy terrors have cut me off. They come round about me daily like water. They compass me about together. Lover and friend hast thou put far from me, and my acquaintance into darkness. So, this the apostles and Peter, they gone. Ain't nobody fooling with him. He got wrath going on his head. But when you got terrors, it's the word be-uthim. Means terrors, alarms, or an occasion by Elohim. Elohim has sought an occasion to do something to you. Come on here to Job 6, right? I want you to come over here to verse 9. This Job talking, by the way. I always want y'all to know who's talking when we come to the book of Job. This Job talking. This him responding back to his homeboys. This Job talking. 6 and 9. Make it 6 and 8. Oh, that I might have my request and that Elohim would grant me the thing that I long for. Even that it would please Elohim to destroy me. There go the occasion of Elohim. That he would let loose his hand and cut me off. Then should I have comfort, yea, I would have hardened myself in sorrow. Let him not spare, for I have not concealed the words of the Kadash one. See, now look at that. That sounds like stuff we done already read. Now this man sat back and said when his father take him out, he'd have a little bit of comfort. Then when he turned around for that, he said he would harden himself in his sorrow. Then he said, please don't spare him, because he said, Abba, if it be possible, let this cup pass. But if not, thy will be done. He said, I ain't kept back the words of the set apart one. And we know we just read that in John 17. I done finished the work you done gave me to do. I done brought that word on him. I done fulfilled the book. It's time for me to fulfill it in completion and go ahead and get up here and die. I'm willing to bear that. I'm willing to take that. Job telling you the same thing. As far as he talking to his friends. He said, what is my strength that I should hold? And what is my end that I should prolong my life? What is your strength that you should hold? Well, your strength that you should hope is your faith in Yahuwah. Faith in Yahuwah is everlasting strength. And then what do you tell you? What is my end that I should prolong my life? What about the death and resurrection of a Mashiach? You can prolong your life. Let's look at 1 Corinthians 15 for that, matter of fact. Boy, those Giants don't play with them alerts, boy. You hear me? They do not play. They come through consistently, like Ken Griffey. Some of y'all don't know about that, but Ken Griffey, what that dude until he went to Cincinnati, started getting hurt. Most of y'all wear shoes, though. At least you used to. I hope you don't do it now. That would be unfortunate. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and 10. But by the grace of Elohim, I am what I am. And his grace, which was bestowed upon me, was not in vain, but I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of Elohim, which was with me. Wherefore, whether it were I or they, so we preached, and so you believed. Now, if Mashiach be preached that he rose from the dead, how say some among you that there's no resurrection of the dead? But if there be no resurrection of the dead, then is Mashiach not risen? And if Mashiach be not risen, then is our preaching vain, and your faith is vain. Yea, and we are all found false witnesses of Elohim, because we have testified of Elohim that he raised up a Mashiach whom he raised not up, if so be that the dead rise not. For if the dead rise not, then is not a Mashiach raised. And if a Mashiach be not raised, your faith is vain, and ye are yet in your sins. Then they also which are fallen asleep in a Mashiach are perished. If in this life only we have hope in a Mashiach, we are all men most miserable. But now is a Mashiach risen from the dead, and become the first fruits of them that slept. For since by man came death, by man came also the resurrection of the dead. So where is your strength that you might hope? And what is your end that you should prolong your life? But to believe in the Son of the living Elohim, and you will live forever. He said, I'm the resurrection and the life. Believe thou this? He said, whoever believes in me will never taste death. Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh of brass? Is not my help in me, and my wisdom driven quite from me? To him that is afflicted, pity shall be showed from his friend, but he forsake the fear of the Almighty. And when you sit back and you look at afflicted, that same word right here, that biton, that terrors an alarm on occasion by Elohim. And when you look at that, you got the bat, the ayin, the u, the tau, the yod, the meme. And when we come up with that, we turn around and see the covenant's work of blood is secured by the word of the Son. So what does that mean? That those terrors and afflictions that he said he was going to suffer, that he told the truth. That he told the truth. That's why you have to be willing to reign with him, because that's that work that he did show forth that the covenant is present. Let's look at the reason why I say that. And that doesn't mean everybody going to suffer who in the word, but a mass majority is. 1 Peter chapter 4. You'll suffer for it in some shape, form, or fashion. You know, Paul, we could look at some of the stuff Paul bared, because, you know, Paul talked about stuff he bared a lot. Ain't too many, I don't think too many people, not in this day, niggas complain too much. And when I'm talking about complaining, meaning blaming Yah for it. Like your forefathers was in the wilderness. Oh, he brought us out here to die. Oh, he brought us out here to starve to death. Oh, them giants gonna kill us. See, they were blaming him for it. But he told them all that stuff he did was to see whether they would believe him or not. And yeah, we already know how that ended. First Peter chapter 4 and verse 12. He say, beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as if some strange thing happened unto you. But rejoice, inasmuch as you are partakers of a Mashiach's sufferings, that when his esteem shall be revealed, you may be glad also with exceeding joy. If you be reproached for the name of a Mashiach, Baruch are ye. For the ruach of esteem and of Elohim rest upon you. On their part he is evil spoken of, on your part he is esteemed. But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as a busybody, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters. If any man suffer as a Yahudim, let him not be ashamed, but let him esteem Elohim on this behalf. You ought to esteem if you take dishonor or are partaker of Hamashiach's sufferings. Whether you dishonor for the word or you take on his, let's look at some of his, let's look at Pete, let's look at Paul, right? What it is, 1 Corinthians chapter 4. Let's look at some of this stuff this man suffered. If Hamashiach suffered any of these things, what Paul stated that he suffered. 1 Corinthians 4 and verse 9. That's got to be willing to bear it. You know what I'm saying? They say, ain't nothing compared. I don't want to quote it wrong. Let me grab it real quick. In that Romans. He said, the sufferings of this present time ain't worthy to be compared to the glory that'll be revealed in you. Sometimes it don't feel like that when you're dealing with it. It is what it is. Got to endure it. Got to fight through it. 1 Corinthians 4 and 9. For I think that Elohim has set forth us, the apostles, last, as it were appointed to death. For we are made a spectacle unto the world, and to angels, and to men. We are fools for Hamashiach's sake, but you are wise in Hamashiach. We are weak, but ye are strong. Ye are honorable, but we are despised. Even unto this present hour we both hunger and thirst, and are naked, and are buffeted, and have no certain dwelling place. Well, let's look at something, right? Let's go over here to John 18, and let's see if Hamashiach thirsted. John 18:28. And guess what? You can sit back and look at that thirst and the suffering. Same way they was in the wilderness talking about they were thirsty. But they were more just going by their lust. But he said, you know, we thirsty and we hungry. They said they were hungry too. He gave them manna. He said, after this, Yahushua, knowing that all things were now accomplished, that the scripture might be fulfilled, saith, I thirst. And now there was a vessel full of vinegar, and they filled the sponge with vinegar, and put it upon hyssop, and put it to his mouth. And when Yahushua therefore had received the vinegar, he said, it is finished. And he bowed his head and gave up the ruach. So we see Yahushua thirsted. We can look back and see where he hungered. God, when he sat back with him, he said, and he ate their flesh. Say, hey, take this bread, eat. This is my flesh. Let's go to Luke chapter 9, because he said at this point he had no certain dwelling place. Well, let's see if Hamashiach said the same thing, if he suffered the same thing. Luke chapter 9, verse 57. Make it 55 because I feel like reading that. Now Luke 9:55. But he turned and rebuked them and said, you know not what manner of ruach you are of, for the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them. And they went to another village. And it came to pass that as they went in the way, a certain man said unto him, Master, I will follow thee whithersoever thou go. And Yahushua said unto him, foxes have holes, birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man have not where to lay his head. So that's a part of his sufferings. You see Paul go along with that. Let's look at verse 12 of 1 Corinthians chapter 4. He say, and laboring with our own hands, being reviled, we bless. Being persecuted, we suffer it. Well, let's see if Hamashiach had been reviled. And let's take ourselves in Matthew chapter 27, I should say. And let's see if they were reviling him. And after we read that, we'll go to 1 Peter. This is all the stuff that come about when he say, take up his stake and follow him. Or when Paul said, I bear them about in my body the marks of Yahushua HaMashiach, meaning his sufferings. So when you see Paul making these statements, he said, I carry these sufferings with me. This is a part of me. So that his life and his death may be manifested in me, that all may come to repentance and be saved. But see, individuals, see, that don't make you feel good as far as when you, well, in general, as far when you talking to niggas about, oh, we Israel and we got next and the kingdom is ours. Most of the people who screaming the kingdom up is theirs ain't even gonna get in it. And that's an ugly thing. That's an ugly thing to say right there. You ain't even gonna make it. But you talking about it's yours. What kingdom you talking about? Verse 38, Matthew 27. You're not getting there. And all this is showing you how the covenant's work of blood secures the word of the Son. So when he told them that he had to suffer many things and be killed and resurrected the third day, this is securing that the word is true. That every word that he spoke was true. He told his apostles several times that he had to suffer and die. He even told the people that they had to die. They didn't know what he was talking about. And we'll read a couple of the spots. They didn't know what he was talking about. He said, then there were two thieves crucified. This is Matthew 27:38. Crucified with them, one on the right hand, another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads and saying, thou that destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save thyself. If thou be the son of Elohim, come down from the stake. Likewise, also the chief priest mocking him with the scribe and elders said, he saved others. Himself he cannot save. If he be the king of Yasharal, let him come down from the stake and we will believe him. He trusted in Elohim. Let him deliver him now. And if he will save him, for he said, I am the son of Elohim. See, and that go back to what we were seeing with Job. And all this go back to what we looked at in Deuteronomy 1, that somebody's bearing a burden and your cumbrance and your strife. Because he said, I can't do this alone. I can't do it. He said, I can't do it. Not me. He said, how can I do that by myself? Now, of course, Deuteronomy 1 showing you how he would get other men to come preach. Well, not preach, but to judge the people and watch over the people. That way you get these organizations talking about you got captains and officers and all this other type of stuff. Y'all got to realize them ain't even bodies in a mashab. Somebody coming, you talking about, I'm a captain, I'm an officer, I'm a general. You need to run. Because clearly the Lord is not there. Them ain't officers in his body. He said, I set forth apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. That's what he said he did. He ain't said nothing about no officer. Officer can't teach no word. All they was there was to deal with the people, so they ain't bring all that junk to Moses. And if it was too hard, then they brought it to Moses. That's all they were there for, was to judge the people. Let's go to Deuteronomy 1, since I said that, for those of y'all that might not know what I'm talking about. We stopped at verse 12. We pick it up in verse 13. Deuteronomy 1 and 13. He say, take you wise men and understanding and known among your tribes, and I will make them rulers over you. And you answered me and said, the thing which thou hast spoken is good for us to do. So I took the chief of your tribes, wise men and known, and made them heads over you, captains over thousands, captains over hundreds, captains over fifties, captains over tens, and officers among your tribes. This is where these dudes in these camps get captains and officers from. This is where they get that from, just so you know. This is where they get it from. And I think that's probably, and he said he charged your judges at that time, saying, hear the causes between your brethren and judge righteously between every man and his brother, that the stranger that is with them, you shall not respect persons in judgment, but you shall hear the small as well as the great, and you shall not be afraid of the face of man, for the judgment is of Elohim's, and the cause that is too hard for you, bring it unto me, and I will hear it. And based off of it, we threw at Matthew 27, so you come to 1 Peter chapter 1, chapter 2, actually, about verse 20. And based off of looking at that and thinking about what I done heard some of these people talking about in some of them organizations, that's what them dudes do when they say this your captain, this your officer. Like, they got these people serving men and fearing men. Like, you got to do what this man tell you to do. Some of that stuff I heard with them women say their husbands did, that junk, that was horrible. I listened to a clip where the lady played with her husband, called her all manner of foul name, and slapped her up a couple times. Told her, you out of order. I wonder how you was in order calling your wife a female dog and slapping upside her head. You know what I'm saying? I want to understand where that comes from. Because, you know, and the worst part was the woman said she had red flags, but she was with this man before the word. So I knew you had to know this nigga was crazy before y'all got in the word. The word did, the congregation they was in didn't make him crazy. That nigga was crazy from the get-go. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 21. That nigga been great. You'd have heard that nigga, how that nigga was cussing that woman out. That junk was shameful. And he kept telling her, pull it up. That nigga told this woman that if she didn't pull the Bible verse up that he asked her for, that she was going to have terrible consequences. I'm like, you going to beat the woman up by the Bible verse, cuz? Because she texts somebody about something? You upset about that? You're a grown man. You was a grown man. I said, you got to be very insecure to beat your wife up for technically texting your superior in your congregation. You got to be a real insecure individual. He said, you out of order. Basically, what this individual stated, this woman stated, that is that a woman in that organization can do absolutely nothing without consulting her husband first, on no matter whatsoever. She can't think for herself. She can't do for herself. He has to tell her what to do on every cut and corner. And if she does something that he didn't tell her to do, she out of order. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And that's how their whole organization is ran, according to her witness. She pretty much said that's what's going on throughout the whole organization. You know what I'm saying? Only reason why I ain't mentioning them by name, because I ain't got no proof. I wasn't there. So there's multiple witnesses of it, but I can't bear witness and say this is what happened. You know what I'm saying? But the likelihood is strong. I can say definitely with that one woman, that nigga beat her, because I heard it. I heard her cuss her out in a couple, you know, boom, 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 get off me and all that type of stuff. Like, nigga, you crazy. Like, what's wrong with you, man? One thing I was always told, if you got to put your hands on them, you need to leave her, because that's not the woman for you. Yeah, you need to leave her alone. You know what I'm saying? You need to leave her alone. It can't never get that serious. You want to beat your old lady up. Like, shoot, she talking crazy, just put her out. That nigga told her, you can get out. These niggas literally said at their wedding that niggas in the congregation was at the wedding trying to recruit people. Like, is you serious, my nigga? Don't you niggas got any type of, this not the time nor the place. They said, we got to turn them over. Telling the people they going to hell. I said, boy, these niggas crazy, man. Let the people eat their cake and have a good time and go home. Them people ain't come here for that. You definitely ain't finna win no nigga at no wedding. Do you know we the Israelites, brother? Yeah, I didn't come here for that, sir. There's an open bar. There's a nice cake over here. You see what I'm saying? And it looks like there's some good catering over there to my right. So once they hit these vows, nigga, I'm going.
They know that go with it, and you trying to perpetrate.
You know what I'm saying? You playing, you going with it, nigga. What is your problem? Hey, it made me think about something. I'm gonna tell y'all about this when I get done though. But I had an individual ask me about something, man. I never knew where vowels came from till today. I had to do a little research on that. It comes from an English book called the Book of Common Prayers. Ain't that something? All them vows people be saying at their wedding. I've been told you that. I would never say no vow at no wedding. You's a fool. That man say, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. You gonna take the woman? Absolutely. I ain't making no vows. Because see, people think when you make them vows, you making them vows to that person. You making them vows to y'all. Oh boy, don't you be around here making promises you can't keep. He told you it's better for you to not vow than to vow and not pay. I ain't said this in a long, but you know how many people who done got divorced going to hell because they done stood before this man and swore they were gonna do something? Well, it ain't even gonna be the divorce. Shit, you ain't even got to get divorced. But if you said you was gonna be with that man for richer and for poor and you slid, you going to hell. If you said you was gonna be with this man till death till you part and you slid, you going to hell. Because you swore to Yah, that's what you were gonna do. Oh no. See, that's where them customs of the heathen get you messed up. Cause
you better write a poem.
shoot, show better. Shoot, write you a nice, this how much I, see, because people think them vows is an expression of how much I love you. You know what I'm saying? When really you saying that I'm going to do something. Well, you better make sure you do that. But you done swore both forehead. Don't you realize when they say this here, you get married before God, that mean your vows, you ain't even got to be following the book. These people done got you locked in saying you swearing before y'all, you going to do something. Ooh, no. It's not necessarily that it's pagan. It's just the fact that that's not our particular custom. So when you look at that particular custom is ensnaring people in a transgression that they're not even aware of the gravity of the transgression that they ensnared in. Because you just swore before the throne of Elohim that you were going to do something. And you didn't do it. You know what I'm saying? Oh no, don't do that. It's just better to either find a songwriter or sit down really, really hard and just write a nice, good old long poem or song. And now Jacob didn't make no vows at all. Jacob entered into a contract with Laban to get Rachel. He didn't even want Leah. They just gave him Leah. That wasn't his intent. He made an agreement that I will work 7 years for this woman. They ain't making no vow. He didn't vow to say he was gonna do nothing. They had a contract. Totally different. Okay, they had a contract. Yeah, don't make no vows, man. Marsha, I told you that. Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. Swearing ain't gonna make me believe you know more than that. It's a lot of people look, they spout right in the face and swore, I'll never leave you, and we're gone in 6 months. Yeah, ain't no need to do that. I was always told, boy, the truth stand on its own. You ain't got to add, you ain't got to put no salt, no drip, no nothing on it. You ain't got to put nothing on it. All that I swear on my dead grandma, I swear on my kids. Boy, I swear to God, boy, you ain't got to do all that. Straight up, nigga, because we already know coming from where we come from, a nigga do all that. Nigga, you probably lying. See, the liars you want to watch out for is the one who can look you dead in your eyes and shoot you one. And their expression don't change or nothing. Them the ones you got to worry about. Nigga come with all that capping. Nigga know the truth ain't in you, boy. Nigga look you in the face and be like, I'll never hurt you. And 20 minutes later bust you upside your head. What they call them, pathological live niggas like that. You know that's sociopathic and psychopathic tendencies when you can do that. You know, normal people just can't lie like that. You know what I'm saying? So you got people who can lie, but nigga who, see, when you get to that point, you believe your lies. So it's not no problem for you to look in somebody's face and lie to them. Yeah. You know, yeah, man. Yeah, watch them niggas, dog. Nigga already know. Nigga ain't even worried about a nigga. But boy, I swear to God, boy. Oh, I never do this. Nigga already know that nigga lying, man. Sometimes nigga gonna be lying, but a lot of times you going overboard. You trying to sell it. That's why Yahushua told you. Just say yes or no. That what it is? That's what it is. If you say you're gonna love that woman, you gonna love her? Yes. You gonna be with her? Yes. See how easy that is? You ain't boxed yourself in. Don't box yourself in, and you're going to hell. And you want, well, what am I here for? Well, you said you was gonna be there for him for rich or poor, and you did. You ain't even got to marry nobody else. You just left because that nigga lost his job and all his money. I don't want nothing to do with it. It's too easy. People walk away from stuff real easy because they just feel like and that same woman was talking about what that organization teaches. Of course, we don't believe this here, so I'm gonna let y'all know this here, right? Because they were teaching that a man can divorce, but a woman can't. Now, truth be told, anybody can divorce. You know what I'm saying? But you can't remarry. See, this is what individuals get upset about. They were like, well, if he beating on me, I got to stay. No, you ain't got to stay. Why would you stay? The minute this nigga raise his hand up, it's time for you to go. You know what I'm saying? If you choose to reconcile, you better than me. Let that rotten bastard live by himself and get every bit of judgment that's supposed to come upside his head for being a no good bastard. You know what I'm saying? Leave that nigga where he at. But I can't tell you can marry somebody else while he living, though. I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. No, you can't marry nobody while he living. But I'm telling y'all right now, nigga lift his hand up to you, I'm talking about he ain't even got to hit you. If he done moved in the fashion where he finna strike you, just leave. Don't give that nigga no chance to put his hands on you. He done did all that. Just go ahead and leave that nigga by himself. Get your turn and go. You know what I'm saying? If you ain't got no turn, get up out of there. I wouldn't care where you went, call somebody. I seen a brew getting upset, talking about you Hebrews ain't got nothing. We ain't got no Hebrew soup kitchen, this, that, that. I wouldn't care where you went at. Who soup kitchen, who women's shelter, get up out of there and go. You know what I'm saying? Call somebody and leave. Don't let nobody put their hands on you. If a woman abusive shoots, you better leave too. I'm not gonna sit here and let no woman beat on me because I'm not going to jail. Ain't nobody need to be sitting around nobody beating on nobody. You don't need to be around nobody that's gonna verbally abuse you, emotionally abuse you, and you definitely shouldn't do it to your children. Because I just seen somebody talking about that. Like, stop calling your children, you know, people be doing that all the time, calling them stupid, calling them fat, this, that. We don't call them children no names. It's the same thing as we were talking about this here, man. And like I told you, my grandma ain't never do it. We ain't never call a child bad. That wasn't allowed. I mean, it's bad men, it's bad women, but this ain't about if it's bad men or bad women. This not the point. The point is, if a nigga put his hands on you, leave that rotten bastard where he at. Don't you stay around there and let this man put his hands on you. You leave. I wouldn't dare tell nobody because you in the word, you got to stay with him, he putting his hands on you. That's insane. Because guess what? I wake up one morning and they be like, boy, he done killed the boy. You got to live with that. I don't want to live with that. And I feel like that before the word. Now, I will say, if this nigga put his hands on you and you go back, I hope he kill you. Because you're stupid. You know what I'm saying? You're stupid. Your self-respect and your dignity, you know what I'm saying? It ain't worth that. It ain't worth being with nobody. You ain't supposed to be letting nobody put their hands on you. Male or female. But we know women do that type of stuff. But for the most part, especially with the word, it's dudes putting their hands on women more than women putting their hands on men. Probably majority of the time, if that woman putting her hands on that man, that's because she hitting him back. Because most of these niggas ain't prepared for a woman who gonna hit him back. See, most of the time niggas think, oh, I'm a hitter, she ain't gonna do nothing. Well, you got some woman, she gonna punch you right back in your face because you're gonna have to box her. Most dudes that put their hand on a woman, they weak, they cowards. You know what I'm saying? And they ain't gonna do that with no man. And then you have that rare breed that they could care less. They fight men and women. You know what I'm saying? You gotta go and get that burner. Because you're gonna have to shoot that nigga because he don't care. He don't care. I mean, yeah, y'all can separate you from somebody that you ain't got no business being with before you marry him. But shoot, sometimes people marry people they know they ain't got no business marrying because they want to do their own will versus y'all will, and they got to suffer with what they got. I'm be honest with you. If you spiritually discern, you would already see. People problem is with the word is they be rushing it. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't allowing this person to, number one, to prove that they even love y'all. Why you so worried? See, most of the time niggas worry about it, did this person love them versus did this person really love y'all, and you paying attention to that. Because if they don't love y'all, they'll never be able to love you. That's going to be impossible. Not with a godly love, if you say that's what you seek and desire, that's going to be impossible. They're never going to be able to love you with that. You know what I'm saying? So they're going to use carnal tricks of the trade and things of that nature to appear to be righteous and try to appeal to your sensual side and focus on that, and then try to shoot some spiritual stuff, but that's really not what they own, and hopes of that'll reel you in. put the hook in your jaw, and they can bring you on the boat and take you to the house. Then after that, they got you. Then you sitting back looking at, oh, I got God. No, you ain't got God. You got yourself. You knew what it was before you did. That's what you wanted to do. You already knew that. People know what you already see what type of person you dealing with. It's just if you choose to say that I want to deal with it or not. You know what I'm saying? But more than anything, boy, let a nigga prove they faith out. Cause a lot of these niggas out here hot cat. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't really believe in y'all like that. I don't know. I told you that. That number creep up higher and higher every day. If you got 100 people in the word, probably only 10 really believe. And that's stretching it with the 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got 100 people in the room, but all them people don't believe in y'all like that. Not from the heart, not in sincerity, not for real. If you seen Hamashiach say there's some standing here that don't believe and people went to walking off, what make you think it's different now? What should make you think it's different now? Because in 2000, we in modern times or something, people are still people. The hearts of man is still the heart of man. Everybody don't believe the word, they'll walk right on off. Some people see the word and they see an opportunity to get something that they feel like that they desired in an individual, and then individuals play the role to perpetrate of being that said individual, and then people overlook the wicked qualities that niggas show, because wickedness don't hide itself. It show all the time. You know what I'm saying? You can see it, you can peep it. That's why most people, when you who in the word, that's why they kind of rush somebody to get married. Because then you don't have the time to prove them out. Oh, we need to get married right now. We need to get married right now. For what? You hard up for loving or something, nigga? You lonely? Because shoot, boy, I love y'all. I don't know, boy. You moving too hard. If you pay attention to the word, y'all ain't never rushed nobody to do nothing. Do you know what I'm saying? That's only Satan that be rushing and speeding. Y'all don't rush nobody. He say, wait on me. Take a little time. You know, he say he the Elohim of patience and consolation. He ain't in no rush. And we ought to learn the same thing, and not just with that matter that we discussing, but period. Verse 21 of 1 Peter chapter 2. He said, for even hereunto were you called, because Mashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps. So you have to sit back. You called to suffer right along with him. If you called to the gospel, you called to suffer right along with him. Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. And when you looking at guile, that's talking about treachery and deceit, running game. See, that's one thing you already know. A nigga ain't of a Mashiach if he running game. They running game, God ain't in them. Mashiach ain't run no game on nobody for what? Some of y'all familiar with Outkast. He said, I bet you never heard of a player with no game. Say, I told the truth to get what I want, but shot it with no shame. Mashiach told the truth, period. And told it with no shame. Ain't got to run no game. People who run game, that's the devil. That's what he do. He said, who when he was reviled not again, and when he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judged righteously. Who in his own self bear our sins in his own body on the tree, that we being dead to sin should live unto righteousness, by whose stripes you are healed. But what do we see this here? He was reviled. He didn't revile again. And that go back to what Paul was talking about, him being. See, we could go look back and look at Paul being reviled. We got to go to the book of Acts about that, because, you know, they talk about Paul good and crazy. See, that's probably the hardest part for most people, somebody talking about you crazy. See, some people couldn't deal with nobody talking about you crazy. I got to find a good part when they were talking about Paul crazy. I can't even remember what a part is, where these men swore an oath that they were going to stone this man. You know how serious that is, that you got to swear to y'all that you ain't going to eat again till you kill somebody? And I found it right here. Acts 23 and 11. You got to be a real crazy individual to do that. You know how much you got to hate y'all to say, boy, I swear to God I ain't going to eat nothing until I kill this nigga. He said, the night following, the master stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Paul, for thou hast testified of me in Jerusalem. Well, hold on. Back it on up. Back it on up just a little bit. I pick it up at verse 6. We look at Paul getting a little bit reviled. But when Paul perceived that one part was Sadducees, and this is when Paul had just got slapped in the mouth by the high priest, and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee, of the hope and resurrection of the dead I'm called in question. And when he had so said, arose a dissension between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the multitude was divided. So we got a little strife. For the Sadducees said there is no resurrection, neither Malachim nor Ruach, but the Pharisees confessed both. And there arose a great cry, and the scribes that were the Pharisees part arose and strove, saying, we find no evil in this man. But if a Ruach or Malachim have spoken to him, let us not fight against Elohim. See, they had a little bit of sense. And there arose a great dissension. The chief captain, fearing lest Paul should have been pulled in pieces of them, commanded the soldiers to go down and take him by force from among them and bring him into the council. See, they thought they were going to kill him. And the night followed, the master stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Paul, for thou hast testified to me in Jerusalem, so thou must thou bear witness also at Rome. And when it was day, certain of the Yahudim bound together and bound themselves under a curse, saying that they would not eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. And there were more than 40 which made this conspiracy. 40 grown men. You know how much level of hatred, how dark you, and guess what the only thing they want to kill him for? Preaching the gospel. That's it. He ain't did nothing to these people. He ain't said nothing to these people. All he done did is preach the gospel. They want to kill him. He said they came to the chief priests and the elders and said, we have bound ourselves under a great curse that we will eat nothing until we have slain Paul. Then you got, look how bold these niggas is that they went to the chief priests and told him this. Oh yeah, boy, we done took a curse, boy. We don't eat nothing till we kill this nigga. Y'all cool with that? Now therefore ye with the council signify to the chief captain that he bring him down unto you tomorrow, as though you would inquire something perfectly concerning him, and we, or ever he come near, are ready to kill him. And when Paul's sister's son heard of their lying in wait, we go back to what we talked about in Hosea chapter 6, he went into the castle and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions unto him and said, bring this young man unto the chief captain, for we have a certain thing to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the chief captain and said, Paul, the prisoner, called unto him and prayed me to bring this young man unto thee, who have something that's, and either way it go, they delivered him up out of his hand. Got him up out of there. Got him up out of there. Let me pull another spot where they was railing on him. I want to say it's chapter 19. Yeah, chapter 19 it is. 19 and 24. Paul about started a riot in Ephesus. They was a little upset with him. For there was a certain man named Demetrius, a silversmith, which made silver shrines for Diana, brought no small gain unto the craftsmen, whom he called together with the workmen of like occupation, and said, sirs, you know that by this craft we have our wealth. Moreover, you see and hear that not alone at Ephesus, but almost all throughout all Asia, this Paul hath persuaded and turned away much people, saying that they be no gods which are made with hands. So that not only this our craft is in danger to be set at naught, but also that temple of the great goddess Diana should be despised, and her magnificence should be destroyed, whom all Asia and the world worship. And when they heard these sayings, they were full of wrath and cried, saying, the greatest Diana of the Ephesians. And the whole city was filled with confusion, having caught Gaius and Aristarchus and men of Macedonia, Paul's companions in travel, and they rushed with one accord into the theater. And when Paul would have entered in unto the people, the disciples suffered him not. And, slid him up out of there. And there's no telling it. And that still wasn't what I wanted. What I'm thinking about is the spot where he said that he brought Gentiles into the temple and said he teach everybody contrary to the law of Moses. Just running their mouth against the man. These people wanted to kill him for what he was preaching. All this go to just bearing all things and taking that for the hope of the resurrection of the dead and doing it with joy for the preaching of the gospel. And you have to sit. That's why we read that Luke 14 on Wednesday about, have you sat down and counted the cost? Do you have sufficient to pay for that? Let's come on back to 1 Corinthians 14, chapter 4. We're going to slide it on out right this here, man, and pick it up, y'all willing, on tomorrow with it. We're in verse 12. And labor, working with our own hands, being reviled, we bless, being persecuted, we suffer it. We've seen a little bit of that persecution on Paul's end. Being defamed, we entreat. We are made as filth of the world and are the offscouring of all things unto this day. So when you look at that you willing to bear that stake, you begin to be the offscouring of the whole world. People begin to hate you and persecute you, and we're going to deal more on the persecution side, y'all willing, on tomorrow. So hallelujah for y'all who's shouting the word. We will cease and desist right here. I appreciate everybody this evening for your time. Bless y'all the house of y'all in the name of Yahushua. But shalom, man. When you look at bearing all things and what you got to bear, it's the sufferings that you got to take. And then those sufferings that you have agreed to take, then you'll endure to the end for the salvation of your soul to receive your full reward. See, everybody, that's why he told you everybody don't got no root in themselves. So by and by they are offended when persecution or tribulation arise because of the word, because they're not willing to bear all things. So those are things to consider. Bless everybody out the house of y'all name of Yahushua. Y'all willing. We pick it up on tomorrow. Be at university. Well, be until that time. Yeah.